Welcome to The Explainer. I want you to picture, just for a second, the most complex, efficient highway system on the planet. I mean, we're talking about a vast, interconnected network where critical supplies are constantly moving, perfectly routed to their destinations without a single traffic jam. Well, that is exactly what your circulatory system is doing right now. Your blood vessels are literally the highways of your body, tirelessly delivering oxygen and life-sustaining nutrients to every single organ. But what happens when that vital infrastructure is suddenly sabotaged? More specifically, what happens when your very own immune system turns against it? Today, we're unpacking a pretty daunting medical mystery to understand exactly how this happens, what it looks like, and how modern medicine fights back.
To really wrap our heads around this, let's just take a quick look at our roadmap. We're going to start with the attack itself, look inside an inflamed vessel, sort the conditions by size, identify triggers and signs, explore diagnosis and treatments, and finally, talk about taking back control.
Okay, let's dive right into this first section, highways under immune attack.
So it's absolutely crucial to establish what's at stake here. You know, your blood vessels, they aren't just passive tubes. They're an active, life-sustaining delivery system. Every organ, every tissue, literally every cell in your body relies on the uninterrupted flow of cargo, specifically oxygen and nutrients. When your immune system, which remember is supposed to be your body's defense force, gets confused and initiates an attack on this highway system, it is highly disruptive. It's kind of like blowing up the bridges and blocking the main interstates. The entire local economy of your body is going to start suffering immediately.
And that brings us to the formal definition, vasculitis. Now, it's a word that sounds like one single diagnosis, right? But the key takeaway here is that vasculitis is actually an umbrella term. It covers a really complex group of over 15 distinct autoimmune conditions, and they're rare. We're talking about roughly 30 to 50 people per million each year. But while they might behave a bit differently from one another, they all unified by one main feature, the dangerous inflammation of your blood vessels.
So, how exactly does this internal sabotage even happen? Let's put on our medical detective hats and move to Section 2, inside an inflamed blood vessel. Under normal circumstances, your white blood cells act as your dedicated defense force. They're the good guys. But in vasculitis, they mistakenly identify the smooth inner lining of your vessel walls as a threat, so they launch an unprovoked attack. Look at Step 1 here. This physical agitation causes the walls to drastically thicken and weaken, which then leads to Step 2, severe narrowing, also known as stenosis. Finally, in Step 3, all that turbulent, restricted blood flow creates the perfect environment for a blood clot to form, completely blocking the route.
This whole cascade leads to a really critical state called ischemia. Let's connect this right back to our highway metaphor for a second. If the main road into a town is totally barricaded, well, that town gets no food, no water, no supplies. In the human body, when a blood vessel is severely tightened or blocked by a clot, those downstream organs are literally starved of their vital blood supply. This ischemia is a highly dangerous state, and honestly, it's exactly what leads to the tissue and organ damage in vasculitis patients.
Now, with so many different types of vasculitis under that umbrella term we talked about, how do doctors even begin to figure out which one a patient has? Well, that brings us to Section 3, sorting vasculitis by vessel size. Specialists actually solve this medical mystery by looking at the size of the targeted roads. Think of this like a cheat sheet. When the attack happens on large vessels, like your aorta, it results in conditions like giant cell arteritis, which frequently causes severe headaches or vision changes, especially in older adults. Now, when it strikes medium vessels, like in polyarteritis nodosa, it affects nerves or causes skin nodules. And finally, small vessel vasculitis, which includes ANCA-associated vasculitis, strikes the tiniest backroads, the capillaries. This often damages the incredibly delicate filtering systems of the kidneys or lungs. Basically, the size of the vessel dictates exactly which body parts suffer the traffic jam. Because these internal traffic jams can happen in massive highways or tiny little back roads, the external clues are incredibly diverse. Let's check out Section 4, triggers and warning signs.
The general warning signs are, frankly, exactly what you'd expect from a massive systemic immune response. We're talking persistent fatigue, unexplained fevers, weight loss. But because vasculitis can strike literally anywhere, you really have to look for highly specific organ red flags. This might manifest as distinct purplish skin rashes, sudden shortness of breath and coughing, or maybe numbness and tingling in your hands and feet. It's that specific combination of widespread fatigue and highly localized damage that signals a huge red flag.
But what actually flips the switch in the first place? Well, doctors look at this through two distinct lenses. First, there's primary vasculitis. This occurs completely spontaneously, and the root cause actually remains entirely unknown to medical science. Wild, right? Then there's secondary vasculitis.
This is where the immune system is kicked into overdrive by a completely separate medical event. So this could be a severe reaction to a medication, the presence of cancer, or even a viral infection like hepatitis B or C.
Of course, identifying the type and the trigger is only half the battle. Let's move into the solve phase of this explainer, with Section 5, Diagnosis and Modern Treatments.
Think of this like calling in the highway maintenance crew. And before you can fix a road, you need the right engineers, right? Diagnosing vasculitis requires a rheumatologist, and they definitely don't just guess. They rely on a highly specific diagnostic toolkit. They're going to use specialized blood tests to look for inflammation markers, advanced imaging to visually map out those narrowed vessels, and ultimately a tissue biopsy that confirms the exact nature of the damage at a microscopic level.
Once the exact problem is mapped out, they execute a really clever two-phased medication strategy. Phase 1 is all about putting out the fire. Doctors routinely prescribe fast-acting corticosteroids, like prednisone, to rapidly suppress that aggressive inflammation and just stop the immediate attack. But, you can't stay on phase 1 forever, so phase 2 is about maintaining long-term control. They transition the patient to non-steroid immunosuppressants. This keeps the overactive immune system in check and maintains remission, but without the heavy side effects of long-term steroids. And brilliantly, these medical treatments are deeply enhanced by personal lifestyle choices. Healing the highways really requires protecting those newly repaired vessels. So, alongside the medication, patients are highly encouraged to adopt a heart-healthy diet and commit to steady, low-impact exercise. These choices actually play a vital role in physically healing the damaged blood vessels and ensuring your bodily infrastructure stays robust for the long haul.
Which brings us to our final section, taking back control.
Look, hearing a diagnosis of a rare autoimmune disease can be deeply frightening. The uncertainty alone can feel incredibly heavy. But the narrative has fundamentally changed, thanks to our understanding of vessel sizes, the sheer precision of rheumatology toolkits, and that two-phased medical plan we just talked about. The outlook is brighter than ever. Early diagnosis and customized modern treatments allow the vast majority of patients to lead highly fulfilling, active lives. It truly is a manageable future.
And that perfectly illustrates why understanding this source material matters so much. It all comes down to awareness and action. So I want to leave you with this final, vital question. If you or a loved one are experiencing unexplained multi-system health changes, if your internal highways are sending up smoke signals, are you truly listening to your body's warning signs?